Hey everyone, Big Bear Ballin' back on my mini, and check it out guys. As you can see, I have my top 500 trophy on my base. So I accomplished my goal. So I wanted to make a season 10 sort of wrap up video and go over some of the things I liked, and then just talk about not having the instant training beginning at rank 1, um, the second account. Just sort of talking about what I think helped me the most. Um, Ended up putting my base like that. I win, met my goal. Anywho, so let's hop into my profile. So I ended up doing 614 battles. You can see my win percentage was around 56%, I think, something like that. Quite a few more wins than losses. A lot of those from the early start of the season, where I started off really well before I got stuck there. I had like an extra 70 wins. I was 75 and 10 or something. So a lot of those came early on. And then, so that's more than enough battles, as I sort of mentioned in my other videos, to get to legendary and to reach top 500. A lot of the players in the top 500 had more battles than that, but a lot of them have similar as well. So that should be more than enough. It's quite a bit. For the final few days, I ended up parking on Saturday. My global, I want to say I was around 300-ish something. I really wanted to get up here because I was only about 25, 30 stars from top 200, but I was pretty out-teched, so I was sort of worried about that. Number 340, global. But I was pretty out-teched at that point. Because of where I started with my rank chest. So I had just gotten, I ended up parking Saturday afternoon with my 22 stars, and I was gonna show you guys my last few battles while I did this, but I guess I can't do that anymore, huh? Okay. Well, that changes things a little bit. Maybe I can. I already did Dr. T today. Maybe I can do a couple bases once my troops load up. I don't know. Oh well. We'll just talk about things then, I guess. So going into again, where was I? I ended up parking Saturday. I ended up on a win streak. I won my last 5 after I got troop damage. I pushed up to where I'm at now with the 22 stars, and I had just unlocked building health, and I was gonna. The idea was I needed building health and troop damage to rank up to where I wanted, but I ended up getting on a streak. I had a lot of 6-engine rooms that I faced, which with the troop damage, you just all heavy rush through that, and it's pretty much a win. So I had a good streak, and I ended up just deciding to stop anyway. My main account, Big Bear, had all that stuff, the Sky Shield and rocket launchers, and he actually fell back down to Legendary 1.3, basically where Lil Bear was without all those things. So I just figured it'd be too risky to try and play with this account, because I was quite a bit behind on the tech for where I was comparatively on the leaderboard. A lot of that was because I started at rank 1. I was a few chests behind, and then people already had a big tech advantage on me by a couple nodes, even though I took a pretty short path to get ahead in the tree. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Some things that I really liked this season, I don't know if it was a screw-up or not. I know Shiska said it's a screw-up, but it probably was. But I actually sort of liked how we didn't have that many keys for the tech tree as we've had in other seasons. I thought it was sort of nice to have for the people to have to make that decision. Do I want to stay with a dirty 6, or do I want to push to 7 engine rooms? I really liked where the keys were limited at that point to where you had to make that decision. That's a pretty cool aspect, especially for the end game. As you can see, the 7 engine room players ended up with the advantage, and the people that went dirty 6 sort of regretted it, I think, unless they pushed pretty high up with it before all the 7s came around. But I liked having to make that kind of a decision later in the tree. Big Bear pretty much had everything, and I was pretty late to the party on Diamond and Legendary. Already the top 500 already were in diamond before he was, and then legendary. I think I was like number 250 to 300, somewhere in there to get to legendary. So I was pretty behind on chess, and I had 60 keys remaining, and I was only missing the two cannon nodes, the microwave node at the end, and final building damage node. Also the sniper tower node, I guess. But other than that, I pretty much had everything I wanted. I could have gone for the CMO, I guess, if I had more keys. But I basically maxed my base out for the most part. Outside of a few things, I was probably about 40 keys short of doing all those things, maybe 60. So 3 chests short, a day short. But again, I was pretty late to the party on diamond and legendary, and usually there's something I'm missing anyway. So that was, I feel like I had enough keys to do what I wanted for the most part. This one, not as much. I would have gotten the Sky Shield, but I would have been stuck with 50% building damage. I had Barrage, but I wouldn't have gotten the other choice node. I had one of the cannon choice nodes, but I would have been short on a couple more things on this account. So I really liked that, actually. And then I thought it was a pretty good balance between defense and offense. I always like when at first, when you get into an engine room level, the offense is what carries you. And then at a certain point, the defense, the people that stayed behind for defense catch up. And then those who went ahead for offense but aren't quite at the next engine room level really struggle against the defensive bases. I like how there's that back and forth. To where it goes offense has an advantage, then defense, and then offense again, defense, and so forth. That always is a good back and forth exchange. So I thought it was pretty balanced, even though it's a base race meta. You could still fail if you did a few things wrong on some of these 7 engine room bases, which is always nice to see. It wasn't like the last 2 seasons where one mistake and you're screwed. And you're going to leave up like 3 engine rooms. But if you did things mostly right, you can do well. And I think I'm pretty good at the base race meta versus the defensive one. I think I do a lot better with just maximizing my attack and time remaining. So I think that benefits me a little bit too. Again, I did a lot of battles, so instant training didn't really affect me too much as far as the battles. It affected me a little bit as far as my windows to push. Certain things, certain tech items and nodes that you want to maximize. You have maybe a window of a few hours to a day of where you can push really far ahead with that item that no one else has. I wasn't able to do that because I was capped on my troops, obviously. So that hurt me where I was maybe a little bit behind. Like when I got my artillery, I couldn't battle as much as I wanted. And then when I got, I don't know, a couple other things, I just feel like I couldn't quite push. I had to slowly push. And by the time I got to where I thought I should be, everyone else already had it and my advantage was gone. So that's a little different. With the instant training, sometimes I'll do quite a few and I'll play for a couple hours in a row if I feel like I've got a good window to push, and generally it works out. Can't really do that here. I'm going to keep this account with no instant training for the next few seasons, just to have that differing comparison between no instant training and instant training, because I still find it pretty interesting to compare between the two and see how much of a difference it makes. And again, it didn't make too much of a difference this season. I honestly think starting with rank 1 was my biggest setback compared to my other account, because I took a pretty quick tech path and I was still a few chests behind, because the first few chests I collected were all wood chests, and I didn't get to gold chests till the second or third day, which, it's only a few keys a chest. They don't make those differences too big this season, but it adds up, over time. And again, those windows to push, if you're 2 chests behind when that window opens, then that's 16 hours later you can start pushing, and by then a lot of that window is still gone because other people have gone through it. So that set me back more than the instant training. The biggest help, though, I would say, was having my main account. Just knowing, having another account that was ahead in the tree and had played a bit at a higher rank to see what was coming, that was honestly my biggest advantage, was to know what path I needed, what to skip, and what was to learn from my mistakes that I made on my main account and not do them on this one. That was the biggest help more than anything. So rather than having instant training, rather than starting the season with the staggered start, rank wise, I think having the second account was the biggest help, because I haven't had a second account before this season. So I always just had my one account, and whatever I did, I had to stick with and roll with, mistakes and all. Whereas this one, I could sort of skip those mistakes and make it as maximized as possible. So we'll see how it goes in next season, having the two accounts, but I'm hoping it'll be a little different since this one's going to be starting quite a bit higher. But all, of course, have started one account already in the season before I get to this one. So I can change the tech tree up a little bit, the path I choose. So that's overall what I thought of Season 10 and doing this account. I really hope I showed you guys that you don't need the instant training. It's not about the staggered start necessarily as far as rank. Obviously, starting at rank 1, I'm not going to get to the global top 50 or something. Again, I was at a huge tech disadvantage by the end with the top guys. But I pretty easily got into the global 500, I would say, with over a day remaining in the season to really push, and I was missing a few critical nodes. So I just wanted to show that you don't need the instant training to reach global 500. I hate seeing the myth that I don't have instant training, I can't push, or all these people that start at a higher rank have such an advantage, you can't possibly catch up, and you can. And I just want to show that maybe you need to look a little bit more introspective and analyze your battles more, realize what you're doing wrong, attack wise, and try and fine tune your skills, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. You can make up for no instant training and starting at a lower rank if you improve your skills and you get to a point where you belong in that top group. So I know I'm not the average player, with Big Bear finishing top 50 3 times and top 500 4 times now. So I'm not the average player as far as doing this type of a test with rank 1 no instant training, because I have the skills to back it up. But I'm hoping to show that you can do it. Just fine tune your skills, look inside and ask yourself what you can do better to improve at warships, versus sort of blaming those external forces that are outside of your control, because the external forces only do so much. Ultimately, it's up to you and how good you are at this game, as far as how high you can push. So again, I'm glad you guys followed me on this journey. Really glad to show that top 500 global was attainable, doing what I did, and I hope it maybe inspires some other people to try and improve their warship game as well. I just want basically the main realization to be that you've got to get better with your skills to get to where you want to be. That's the determining factor. So take a look at yourself, figure out what you can do better, and you'll get those goals that you want to reach to, okay? So I will be back next season, not doing this obviously, but I'll just be keeping up with my accounts, trying to post some warship content every now and then, and I hope you guys join along with me. So looking forward to season 11. It's a bit tough to wait these 5 or 6 days. I always find myself wondering what to do in the meantime, but I'll be excited when the next season starts, and I'll see you guys when we get there, okay? So take it easy, and I will see you next time.